The spirit of volunteerism demonstrated by millions of Thais has compensated in part of the government's inadequate financing of flood recovery efforts and preventative measures that will require a large budget both in the short and longer terms. Several million people have been involved in some kind of volunteer work, donating both money and goods. Many have offered their labor, filling sandbags, packaging life support bags, distributing goods and rescuing victims from flood-hit areas. Large numbers of communities automatically organize themselves to help their members and others. This volunteer effort has helped considerably as the government and the military have limited manpower, financing and other resources to cope with such a devastating disaster. In the spirit of volunteerism, many groups are prepared to provide free or low-cost services to fix electrical appliances or undertake home repairs. Some government officials estimate that 900 billion baht will be needed over the next few years for flood recovery and preventative measures. Weeraphong Ramangkul, recently appointed by the government as chief of the Strategic Committee for Flood Recovery, has indicated that a huge investment will be needed and the government might need to draw funds from the international reserves managed by the Bank of Thailand. The likely option is borrowing more money. The cabinet recently increased the borrowing plan of about 300 billion baht, largely to support its populist rice subsidy scheme. Yet such populist policies as the first car and the first home schemes and wage hikes would to some extent limit the government's capacity to manage the flooding crisis. Another option is for the government to seek cooperation from people, businesses and investors. If it is smart, it will seek to capitalize on the volunteer spirit. Yet that spirit of cooperation could be hurt by the government's actions. Many have accused it of mismanaging the crisis. Some are unhappy at its insistence on implementing its populist policies, which they say indicates that it has failed to identify the real priorities in this time of disaster. The recent move towards pardoning former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra from serving a prison term for corruption may spook large numbers of volunteers or even worse, turn them into enemies of the government. The great challenge facing the government is finding a way to maintain the momentum of the spirit of cooperation, which has potential to bring in more funds, labor and intangible assets such as confidence in social, political and economic affairs. Wichit Chaitrong, The Nation Analysis for ASEAN TV.